For my 20 years of experience in human resources, CLDP is the best program that offers comprehensive yet understandable practices in learning and development. If you want to enhance more of your competencies, it is only CLDP.
As a human, we are often told to soar like an eagle, to aim high, to do something big, but nobody tells us how. I will tell you how. Is that easy? No, it's not. But it's not impossible. We want to have attitude like an eagle. But why? Because we see and we know eagles as a sign of power and ability and speed. So we need power, ability, speed, and vision, just like an eagle has. I'll tell you 6 things that eagles do, and you can do these things and apply in your own life to have an attitude like an eagle and to soar like an eagle. Write it down. Number 1, eagles fly alone. Those who fly solo have the strongest wings. So don't be afraid to fly alone, to walk alone. The reality is people will not understand your dreams and your vision. Even they will not support you. There will be some naysayers, some negative people. And if you tell them about your dreams, they will try to stop you. They will try to bring you down. They can't see the opportunity that you think you have. So you have to walk alone. You have to fly above the negativity. You have to start your journey alone. And if you learn to fly alone, to walk alone, you will be the strongest and powerful man. Your confidence level will grow. So next time you will not be scared to fly alone. So try to fly alone, because eagles don't fly with pigeons. So don't depend on anyone to fly with you, to assist you. You have the power to touch the sky. Everyone has that power, but not everyone dares to touch the sky. You will never recognize what kind of power you have inside of you if you don't fly alone. But when you fly above everything, where nobody dares to go, you will meet some sky touch full of experience. You can share your dreams with them, and they will share their experience with you. So fly high and fly alone. Number 2, eagles love the storm. While all birds find shelter and the comfort zone during this rain and storms, all of the birds try to avoid rain and storm. But the eagle welcomes the rain and storm. They are excited to go through the challenge. They love to fly high during the storm above the clouds. And in this way, they grow stronger and more powerful from the challenge in your life. Instead of running, welcome them and get excited about the challenge and hard times. Rather complaining or trying to avoid the challenge, run toward the challenge. That's how you can grow faster and stronger and powerful. Just remember, the more you face the challenge, the more you get opportunities, and the more you evolve dominant. Number 3, eagles always have the vision. Having excellent vision and concentration is most important thing to what you want. Eagles who only focuses on their goals, not on fear. After setting their target to hunt an animal, they make their vision so clear, and they only put their focus on that. They will not move their focus until they hunt it. In the same way, focus like a laser. Laser focus will limit your distraction and help you to achieve your goals. Those who concentrate one thing at a time advance in this world. So keep focus no matter what the obstacles are. Number 4, eagles don't eat dead or old things. You know, the other birds eat what they want, dead and old. Crow eats the garbage, but the eagles feed only fresh prey. As same as if you want to have an attitude like an eagle, Don't waste your energy by stuck in the past. Because what's gone is gone, and what's done is done. You have to move on by living the past. You know the two things that prevent us from happiness and success are number one, living in the past, and another is observing others. An eagle never observes others and never live in the past. Number 5. The female eagles test the level of commitment when they meet male eagles. And this is the most important thing. Trust is important in relationships, in business, in professional life, or in private life. We must test the level of commitment of people we intend for partnerships. Number 6. Eagles train hard. You know, every eagle, when the time comes for them to learn to fly, the mother eagles remove the comfort layers from the nest so the eaglet gets uncomfortable. And then she starts throwing eaglets out of the nest. She does it daily and repeatedly until the eaglets learn to fly, until they become fearless, grows stronger, and eventually they fly in the sky. So you must have to train hard and evacuate your comfort zone. There is nothing in the comfort zone. You have to face challenge every single day, and you have to go through hard times. And that's the way you evolve hard and stronger.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the show where we sit back, relax, and talk about anything and everything about L&D. This is the Trainers Lounge, presented by Circa Logica Group and CLDP Philippines. All right, in this episode, we are celebrating Pride Month. Diversity and inclusion is the name of the game for today's episode, and of course, it's something new, fairly new, but a lot of people are now beginning to understand better, right? Or are beginning to accept that diversity and inclusion is required in the workplace. And today we're going to have a talk with one of our guests who can teach us how to create a culture of inclusion, fairness in our workplace. All right, and before we move on to our show and before we introduce our guest, we would like to ask our supporters there, ayan, palike naman, subscribe, and follow our pages. You can visit us at Facebook, Circa Logica Group, and also CLDP Philippines. We are also posting our videos on YouTube. Makikita nyo po mga videos ng previous Trainers Lounge episode sa Circa Logica Group. All right. Without further ado, let's introduce our guest for today. So, he is a social scientist and a nurse by profession and is a consultant on gender equality, diversity, and inclusion since 2015. He has worked with over 100 national government agencies and the private sectors as well. He was also appointed as the lead for Strategic Partnership and Southeast Asia Circle of the Society of Gender Professionals. Without further ado, introducing Mr. Alvin Dakis, CLDP. And Mr.
Hi,
Alvin.
Kevin. Magandang hapon.
Magandang
Hello,
hapon.
hi everyone. Yes,
Hello.
hi. Hi, I'm Alvin. My pronouns are he and him, and thank you for inviting me to this show.
Hey, thank you so much din po for joining us into today's episode. And as I mentioned, napapanahon nga yung topic natin for today, no? Diversity and probably we'll talk about more about Soggy Bill as well and let people know better, no? Kasi I think hindi pa ganun kilala itong bill na to or even the culture of diversity and inclusion as a whole. But we're getting there, ika nga.
Yes, and timely, no? Dahil ngayon ay Pride Month internationally. So happy Pride Month to everyone.
Happy Pride Month din po sa lahat na nanonood sa atin and sa lahat ng ating supporters. Alright, well, before we begin, I think it's only right lang na pag-usapan muna natin no yung parang overview ng topic. So diversity and inclusion. So, before we go into the corporate, before we go to the training setup, what are we talking about when we say diversity?
Yes, thank you for asking that, no? Kasi right now, that's the parang the new trend with many companies and corporations, even with government agencies, they're already talking about diversity and inclusion. Paulit-ulit na to, no? So, what is diversity and inclusion, and what is the difference between gender equality? So, meron kasing iba sa ibang bansa, diversity, equity, and social and inclusion. So, DEI. Yung iba naman D&I, no? Diversity and inclusion. So whichever, ang pinaka meaning lang naman ng diversity is the representation of various identities and differences, population groups na within your organization, your company, your wherever that you actually serve. And when we say inclusion is the active engagement of the contributions and the participation of all people that is being represented in their diversity. So diversity is more of representation. Inclusion is more of the process of
I
including
see.
them. So ganun
Okay.
siya. Bale, kung nasa isang room tayo, when we say diversity, we ask who are the people in the room. So sino-sino sila? Yun yung ibig sabihin ng diversity. And when we actually ask inclusion, we say have we heard everyone? So yun yung ibig sabihin ng inclusion. Narinig na ba natin yung opinion nila at mga perspectives nila? So yun yung main difference nung diversity and inclusion.
And as you mentioned earlier, meron din siyang other variations which is DE and I, no, yung
Yes.
equity or equality.
Yeah.
Well, pumapasok din naman siya doon. And I guess doon din sa diversity part, one thing that we should also note rather is that hindi lang siya nagfo-fall under sa gender identity.
Hindi. Malawak siya. So kasama dyan ang age, variances in age. Kasama din dito ang ability. So ito yung mga mobility issues, disability, learning needs. Kasama din dito ang race and ethnicity. And yung iba naman mas pinalawak pa nila, no? Kasama din dito pati yung kung saan ka nakatira, if you're from the urban or rural areas, because may iba't ibang mga needs yon.
Yes, yes.
And cultural groups then, if you are from indigenous people, community, mga ganyan. So marami siyang, so it's not just about gender. It's really about what makes this group of people different and what are their needs separate from the other groups.
Oo, yun. Yun. Sa mga viewers natin dyan, one thing na lagi natin tatandaan when we talk about diversity, it's not just about gender identity. Ako, meron kaming coworkers na belonging to the LGBT. Actually, it's not just that, no? We have to be careful with that. We have to be careful with that kind of mindset kasi marami pa tayong na kailangan i-include, ika nga, or as the title itself, inclusion. Include with our settings. And yun, so we've clarified what is diversity and inclusion. How about now, if we talk about it in different settings? Kasi uso yung halimbawa sa business, hindi sila tumatanggap ng ganitong customer. Right, in the Western world, it's been, well, it's not, hindi naman siya sekreto no? It's not a secret that they had a dark past in terms of that. Hindi naman natin siya kailangan kalimutan, but rather we have to understand na nangyari siya. Pero yun nga, as I've said, there are cases sa kanila na even on a simple store na hindi nila sineserve yung mga ganitong. So what are the other settings that we can expect diversity in present?
Alright. Before siguro tayo mapunta doon, I would like to talk about intersectionality. No? So ito yung isa sa mga context or mga concepts din na isinasama lagi kapag when we're talking about D&I. Intersectionality actually means that there are multiple factors and multiple areas of which a person can be oppressed So hindi lang dahil LGBTQIA siya na person, pero pwede din siyang ma-oppress because siya ay belonging to an IP group, siya ay belonging to a religious minority, siya din ay halimbawa may disability. So pwedeng multiple ang sources ng oppression sa kanya ng system or ng institution or nung grupo ng other groups of people. So yun yung concept ng intersectionality. And one thing kasi na the reason why we're bringing this up is that parang ang kinakahon lang kasi nila na pag LGBT, hiwalay yan, PWD, hiwalay ang senior citizens, hiwalay
Oo,
ang,
yung age
parang naging
groups.
gano'n, no? Kina-compartmentalize, parang ganyan. Pero when we talk about intersectionality, we're saying that there are some people that actually may belong to certain age groups. At the same time, they also have gender identities that are belonging to sexual minorities, for example, LGBTQIA sila. They may also belong to racial minorities, for example, IPs, tapos meron din silang mga disabilities. So may mga ganon. And when we start to understand this, and we see this sa ating mga employees, we see this sa ating mga stakeholders, mas naiintindihan natin kung bakit may need talaga na tignan yung mga aspeto yan. Kasi nakakaapekto yan. Nakakaapekto siya sa delivery ng services natin. Nakakaapekto yan sa perspective ng ating mga service providers, yung ating mga, for example, mga customer service representatives natin, tayo bilang mga leaders, for example, mga managers, kung paano nila tinitingnan yung kanilang mga customers, no, or end users. And nakakaapekto din yon sa perspective naman ng end users to the company. So may ganun siya. It is more of a cycle. So mas naiintindihan nila kung bakit for example, lalo na ngayon, di ba may tinatawag na cancel culture?
Oo,
So,
it's actually a new thing din, oo.
Narinig na natin yung cancel culture na yan. Pinauso yan ng mga very young generation. The cancel culture is kapag may nakita silang something na hindi maganda about your company, about whatever that you're doing, kahit isang error lang yan, they will call you out and they will say na i-boycott mo na yung services ng company na yan because they are homophobic, they're transphobic, they are whatever the names that they will call you. So, ang dito may effect yun, no, in terms of how companies will actually manage risk, and at the same time kung paano nila binabrand yung sarili nila and navigating through. For example, mag-mention na ako. Hindi ko lang ma-mention yung company.
Okay.
Yung company. Pero,
protektahan.
syempre, nila yan, karapatan nila yan. But there is this one company, it's a fast food chain in the Philippines. It's very known. And ang nangyari was, merong lumalabas ng mga issues about them being homophobic or transphobic. Kasi may mga issues sila before na tinatanggal nila yung mga employees na mga transgender women. So ito po yung mga tao na kung saan ang kanilang biological sex ay hindi tumutugma doon sa panglabas nilang anyo o sa gender identity nila. So for example, they're born male, pero ngayon they're
They
adults,
identify as women.
Babae na ang kanilang identity. So ngayon, this known company, actually ginagamit yon na basis para tanggalin yung mga ganitong individuals. So kino-call out talaga ng public yon, and they were saying that this is transphobic, you should not do that, this is discriminating, etc. And marami pang ganyan. Another company which is also very known in the Philippines, naman siya, clothing company naman siya, na kung saan ay nagkaroon sila ng isang malaking billboard ng isang kilalang individual, is a superstar, kumaga, in the Philippines. And this person is known to be making remarks against LGBTQIA individuals, calling them sa hayop, etc.
Yes.
So they're also calling the company out. Na parang they're saying na, akala ba namin you're for everyone, love is love, yun pa yung mga products nyo, and then why are you engaging and highlighting this endorser? So nagkakaroon talaga ng effect, and that's why importante yung diversity and inclusion in the workplace, dahil nga sa mga ganito.
Oo.
So yun, marami pa akong makaka-highlight mamaya as we go through.
Hala, may marami palang baong tea.
Yeah.
Sir Alvin today.
Maghanap po
Pero
kayo
ayun
ng
nga,
chat.
I think familiar sa akin yung second one. Yung first one, hindi masya. Pero yeah, I think familiar sa akin. But okay, yeah, my side naman, well, yeah, it was a bit hypocritical din, no? Siguro yun yung issue nila, no? Kasi it looks hypocritical na yun nga, you would use a person or the celebrity who has openly uh, well, hindi naman siguro
May mga
ganun
stance
kalala,
talaga siya
no? Oo,
against.
but he had some remarks about yun nga, people who are identifying themselves with the norm, ika nga, norm. But yun, yeah, I remember that thing happening and it was actually confusing. So, another thing din kasi na napapansin natin with companies, no, they celebrate Pride Month nga, no? They show the flag, but are they really following it by heart doon sa loob nila, no?
Right, that's
Ah,
right. Ito yung I'm going to share to you the 4 signs that your organization or your company doesn't really value diversity and inclusion. There are 4 signs.
4 signs.
So the first one is that they pursue D&I or diversity and inclusion to satisfy the external audience. But hindi siya nagre-reflect
Sa
sa
loob.
company itself.
Oo.
Ito yung sinasabi mo, Kevin. No? So,
Pakita lang.
minimension nila, pinapakita nila yung mga merchandise, they wave the pride flag, change nila yung kanilang icon or logo ng company na ginagawa nilang rainbow and all that, but it does not reflect in their policies, it doesn't reflect in their workplace culture, so and in their business goals. That's the first one. The second sign is that they do not connect with diversity and inclusion efforts in business relevant success metrics. Ibig sabihin, hindi nila kino-convert, no, into, for example, how many clients have served na merong different needs. For example, how many employees have you hired na nagbibigay ng diversity sa workforce natin. So metrics kasi yan, business relevant metrics yan. And kapag wala siyang ganun sa company, ibig sabihin, yung D&I para sa kanila lip service na.
Oo.
The third sign is actually they don't work to ensure diverse representation in the corporate leadership team at saka sa functional leadership levels. So this time, we're talking about the corporate management itself. Walang masyadong babae sa kanilang corporate leadership, walang representation ng LGBTQIA, walang tao na may disability, walang tao with various age groups, no? So ito yung hindi diverse yung kanilang corporate leadership. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa sila open sa diversity and inclusion. And ang ika-4 ay hindi sila active na nag-learn about diversity and inclusion. Wala silang mga learning sessions, they don't include it in their training programs, they don't even put it in their annual training programs for their employees, for their management. So yan yung 4 na signs na hindi
Ayun.
binavalue ng company ang
So,
diversity and inclusion.
So sa mga nanonood nating corporate or owners or directors or managers dyan, ayan, reflect na po tayo. Baka may hindi tayo tinamaan doon sa mga 4 na signs na yun. Pero I think, with the emergence of, with this movement, I think marami na rin naman ang nakaka-follow with this, no?
Right. And actually, may benefits talaga ang diversity and inclusion. When we start looking into this, so definitely may mga companies in the Philippines right now na meron talaga silang diversity and inclusion committee or diversity and inclusion leadership team. Pero usually, itong mga companies na to, these are companies na may representation outside of the Philippines or galing sa ibang bansa na may Philippine office. So, nagsimula yun sa ibang bansa tapos
In-apply siya dito.
Philippines, yes. Pero according sa pag-aaral ng Philippine LGBT Chamber of Commerce, nag-survey sila ng 100 companies, Filipino companies, wala ni isa sa kanila ang merong SOGI diversity policies in the workplace. Wala ni isa, zero.
I see.
Pero yung meron man na may mga present na mga diversity and inclusion policies, usually are companies that are already present in other countries. Kumbaga, kasi nga, di ba, global na siya. So, carry siya sa Pilipinas. Pero i-share ko lang, Kevin, meron
Sure, sure.
10 benefits ang workplace diversity.
Oh, okay.
So, ano yung mga 10 benefits na yan? Para sabihin nyo naman na parang, okay, I'm
Bakit ko
going
pa
to
gagawin to?
invest.
Bakit
Di
ko
ba?
pa
I'm going to
gagawin to, di ba?
invest here. Yeah. Pero ano naman makukuha namin dyan,
Mhm,
di ba?
mhm.
Usually, ganyan naman na lagi ang tanong ng mga business owners, di ba? Meron ba yung balik sa amin?
Mhm.
Can it be converted into profit? Mga ganun. So, una, sa mga 10 benefits dito is, of course, may variety of different perspectives. So, dahil meron tayong pool of various individuals coming from different perspectives, backgrounds, different na mga stories na kung saan na sila nanggagaling. When we start to address, for example, a certain crisis like this, no, a pandemic, diba? Magkakaroon ka ng iba't ibang perspective of how you're going to address it, na hindi lang siya very linear, na isang nanggagaling lang siya sa, for example, puro kalalakihan, tapos yung mga lalaki na to puro pa mga matatanda.
Oo.
So yung workforce mo puro mga bata, tapos very diverse. So most likely yung policy na i-carry over ng company, hindi talaga makaka-relate yung entire workforce. So yun yung una. Pangalawa is meron ding increase ng creativity.
Yeah.
Siyempre, mas maraming taong involved na iba't ibang kanilang mga perspective, mas nagiging creative ang approaches, di ba? So halimbawa, different age groups. So here you are with the management na sabihin na lang nating boomers, yung tawag sa kanila. Tapos meron kang kasama ng mga millennials, tapos may Gen Zs ka pa. So nagko-combine yung iba't ibang mga perspectives and creative juices. Kaya pumapasok na yung mga companies sa TikTok, mga ganyan, ginagamit na rin nila yung platform. Oo,
Nag-emerge na nga yan, nag-emerge na nga.
Nag-emerge na sila ngayon. If you can actually see ngayon, pati TikTok ginagamit nila. Bakit? Nakita kasi nila yung lawak at saka yung reach talaga ng mga ng TikTok, 'di ba? So imagine mo yun, I'm watching several TikTok videos at talagang pumapasok may company placements dito, may product placements.
Bakit sila nagti-TikTok? Mga ganong questions eh. But yeah, yung perspective nga naman kasi is malawak eh. You have someone who can cater to the older generations and then you have someone who can cater to the younger and the middle generations.
Right.
And if you put them together, yun, di ba nga, at least hindi naiipit yung strategic mindset ninyo. Hindi naiipit or naiiwan lang sa isang tipo ng mindset. And it's just not just the it's not just the age, no? Pati yung gender, identity, yan. Mga race, culture.
Maraming factors na pwede mong actually, I'm just highlighting the age because for the TikTok reference lang. Pero of course, more innovations. This is the third of the benefits. So apart from the creativity, nagkakaroon ka rin ng innovations. For example, sa healthcare sector, the healthcare industry, with the rise of people being more creative, nagkakaroon ng telemedicine and telehealth. No? So lalo na ngayon na people are not going out of their homes, pero they need health services, especially mental health services. So nagkaroon ng mental health na telemedicine ang approach. So using, for example, ganito, Zoom or any other platform na online. And na-engage pa rin nila yung kanilang mga patients and stakeholders. So yan yung isa sa mga benefits. And that means increased profits yon for the company. Kasi makakapag-reach out ka pa din ng bagong market, makakapag-expand ka. At the same time, madadiversify mo yung approach ng company na dati very specific ka lang dito sa ganitong klaseng demographics. This time, nakakapag-reach out ka na sa iba pa. And then of course, ang next na benefit is mas mataas yung employee engagement. Mas na-engage mo ngayon yung mga employees mo at saka yung members of the workforce because they feel na they're being heard. So napapakinggan
they're being
sila
represented.
They're being represented, mga ganyan. So they feel valued. Dun nga sa sinabi ni Jeff sa previous episode, na parang isa sa mga tinitignan ng mga younger generations ngayon sa pagpasok nila sa mga bagong companies, ay actually yung value, no, na maiko-contribute nila to that company. So, and actually, ito yung importance ng diversity and inclusion in the workplace to make sure that yung kanilang values, potentials, talents ay na-maximize at at na-engage talaga sila. Para din sila ma-retain, para hindi
Mhm.
sila umalis. No? Dahil, syempre pag umalis sila, sayang yon kasi mas magastos yun ulit for the company dahil kailangan mo mag-retrain, kailangan mo ulit kunin yung loob nila, and mahirap bilhin ang loyalty, di ba? Mahirap
Oo.
mo siyang,
It's not something
mahirap,
na
it's not something that you can actually like pay.
buy. Oo.
Kasi kahit na malaki ang bayad, if wala talaga yung loyalty na tao
They
sa
won't
brand
last.
or sa organization, yeah, they won't stay. If they don't feel that they're going to grow anymore with the organization, and they're really like, for example, highly trained, very technical, and matagal na sa organization, it's a big loss for the company. Diba? Mahirap palitan yung ganong klaseng empleyado. So,
Yes.
mas nakikita dapat yon ng mga company owners na loss yon sa kanilang part. And of course, ang isa pa sa benefit is mas maganda yung decision making, di ba? Kasi mas marami kang perspectives na nakukuha, and mas marami kang mga naririnig kung paano yung approach, mas makakapag-decide ka ng maayos
Mhm.
kaysa yung isang perspective ang ginagamit mo. And because of that, mare-retain mo din yung mga employees mo. Hindi agad sila hindi mataas ang turnover rates, diba,
Oo.
ng mga tao. So yun.
And
And then,
I sorry, singit ko lang din. I've read an article dati na yung mga younger generation na workforce natin, they don't actually consider salary alone as a basis, no, to
right.
stay.
Actually,
Yun nga, you've said that if they don't see themselves growing in the company, if they don't see themselves being represented or at least accepted in the workplace, kahit mataas yung sweldo, maalis sila. Or, yun nga, based on the survey, they wouldn't just base their decision to stay on the salary itself. No?
correct. Actually, pag there are several studies that I've read na hindi top reason yung salary.
Mm.
The top reason for people to actually stay
Stay.
are actually the people within the organization, the culture that's present. Yun yung una. They feel like family na nila yon, or they form friends and relationships with people within the company or the organization. That's why they're not leaving. And ang primary reason kung bakit sila umaalis ay bad leadership or bad management. So yun yung primary reason why they're leaving. Hindi sila napapakinggan, they're not being valued, they feel that they're not going to grow kahit na alam nilang meron pa silang ibubuga para doon, or may bibigay pa sila. So and true enough, no, nakikita na natin talaga to, hindi lang sa younger generation, even the millennials, yan din yung result ng mga different studies na ginawa sa atin. No? I consider myself millennial, 1985, so tama, millennial yun.
Wow.
Yun.
Sakto pa.
Although I don't really like giving terms within like, boomers, millennials, and Gen Zs, kasi syempre parang napakaano naman nun, binabox natin sila. Pero anyway, ito yung terms kasi na common ngayon na ginagamit. So, ayan yung reason kung bakit they're going to stay or they're going to leave. And if they are leaving the company at mabilis ang turnover ng company, pangit ang reputasyon ng company niyo.
Mhm.
Siguro you're familiar with apps sa website like Glassdoor, for example, wherein there are ratings of companies.
Mm.
Nire-rate yon ng mga previous
Employees or staff.
ng mga employees. And they post mga comments. This company may mga pros and cons.
Oo, nga
So,
ganun.
this
Yeah, I think
company
I've
listens
seen
to
that
me.
before.
May mga ganyan. No? And actually, ginagamit ngayon yun ng mga potential ng mga talents, no, coming into the company. At pag binasa nila, at nakita nila na pangit yung rating, mababa yung pasahod, mabagal, hindi responsive ang leadership, etc. Walang movement, whatever. Hindi mo sila mag-a-apply. Diba? So, pangit yung reputasyon ng kumpanya
Yes.
doon sa mga potential talents. So, productivity loss pa rin yun sa company. Okay? And syempre, pag mas maganda naman yung reputasyon mo, like for example, there are some companies na pag chinecheck ko talaga yung profile nila sa website, okay, maganda. Pero pag tinignan mo din sa mga websites na merong mga ratings, makikita mo yan. Masasabi mo dito na, uy, maganda yung mga rating ng mga previous ng mga employees.
Employees, yes,
Nag-improve din yung hiring result. Isa din to sa benefits. So syempre, mas marami kang mapupull in ng mga talents that are really, really good and that are very passionate about your products, very passionate about your service, because these are really the people that really are wanting to join the company or the organization because they know that they will flourish in your organization. And ang pinakahuli sa benefits, mas mabilis mong masasolve yung mga problems kapag merong nag-emerge. Kasi mas engaged yung mga tao, mas committed sila. Kumbaga merong ownership. I don't know if you've experienced it, but I've experienced it before in my previous work that yung, alam mo yun, yung apathy,
Oo.
apathetic ng mga workforce.
Mm-mm.
Wala kaming pakialam. Wala kaming
Ang,
pakialam kung mag-away-away.
ang hirap. Mahirap pag
Basta
ganun.
basta pasweldohan nyo kami. Mga ganon, di ba? O kaya, parang they're just going to work,
For the sake of
yung
it.
magta-time in lang sila, and then magta-time out sila, and then tapos na. Parang ganon. They don't really care about the overall productivity of the company. They don't really care about the reputation of the company. They're just there to actually get the money.
Because
Parang
passion is
ganon.
missing eh. Ika nga.
Yeah. So pag kami nagkakaroon ng mga problems, hindi ngayon nila ma-engage yung workforce because the workforce doesn't really care. Parang, bahala kayo dyan, ginusto nyo naman yan eh. Pero kapag meron kayong diversity and inclusion in the workplace, that's really good. They really care and they will really pitch in and propose solutions. Parang sila mismo pa yung mag-o-offer. Sila pa yung magsasabi na, okay, how can we help? Mag-volunteer pa sila. Pag-create sila ng mga volunteer groups, na counseling groups, na ganyan. For example, nagkakaroon ng malaking taas na issue ng mental health, de-drain na yung mga tao dahil nga sa pandemic. Sila mismo yung mga employees yung mag-group together, gagawa sila ng employee groups or what we call ERGs. So sila na mismo yung mag-offer na kanilang mga services para sa kanilang co-employees. Natutulungan yung management para solusyonan yung problem. So may benefits talaga ang diversity and inclusion.
Meron talaga. We cannot deny that, but
Yeah.
there is. Ayan. And, well, speaking of the benefits naman in the workplace, how can we now make sure that we are aware? Pero, siguro, wag muna dun sa how, but rather, yung mga what muna, no? What are the things na policies na talaga, let's say? Kasi, baka sabihin nila na pang ano lang yung DNI is pang palubag loob. But there are actually policies na talaga within our law, di ba? Regarding these things. So, ano yung mga dapat siguro na human rights or diversity policy that companies should be aware of? Kahit yung mga pinaka-importante or common lang.
Okay. In terms of like human rights or yung mga different laws in the Philippines that they have to be aware of, una sa lahat yan yung mga Magna Carta. So, the
Magna Carta law.
The Magna Carta of Public Health Workers, kung ikaw ay nasa health sector, Magna Carta of Women, that applies to everyone, pati yung mga private sector, and other Magna Carta na kung saan ay involved yung inyong mga workforce. The second one would be yung mga other laws, for example, yung anti-sexual harassment policy or law, anti-rape law, yung mga ganyan. So they have to be aware of this because actually malaking effect yon sa company pagka nagkaroon ng ganung mga issues. And it's not really just, controversial, but it's also legal. May legal battle kasi yun.
May legal
So they
basis
also
dyan.
have to be prepared for that. No? Kagaya ng isang company that I am actually assisting right now, nag-isip talaga sila ng paraan to actually hire a psychologist, psychiatrist dun sa kanilang workplace kasi nga para makapag-provide sila ng psychosocial support services for their staff kasi naka-experience ng sexual harassment sa kanyang boss.
Within the company
yung-
itself.
Within the company.
Ayun lang. Mahirap yun.
And isa yun sa parang part yun ng diversity and inclusion committee is to actually address that and to help address those things. And to also help na hindi na siya mangyari ulit. Kasi kapag nangyari ulit yun, magiging malaking issue talaga yun na alam mo yan, a lot of people will actually, it's a word of mouth, no? Mag-spread talaga yan. Naku, huwag tayo dyan sa company na yan kasi maano tayo dyan. Kagaya na lang ng meron ako nabasa very recently, isang post about a certain office looking for public official.
Ayun lang.
They're looking for executive assistants.
Sinechite.
Uh, looking for executive assistants, pero babae ang hinahanap. Babae lang. So ngayon nagko-comment yung mga tao sa baba na parang um, nagkakaroon tuloy ng idea yung ibang mga potential na mga mag-apply.
Apply.
Na parang the reason kung bakit babae kasi nang mamanyak daw yung this person, the head. O diba? Parang okay. So alam mo yun, ang laking impact nun to the reputation of the office, to the, kahit sabihin natin hindi verified yung information na yun. But you know, it spreads very widely, and lalo na sa ngayon sa panahon ng fake news, 'di ba? So everyone will actually like jump into the bandwagon and actually say na, hala, oo nga, baka totoo nga yan, kaya ganyan. So these are policies that you really have to be very aware. And of course, yung mga policies din na yung ang tawag nito, yung sa labor laws, yung mga labor laws natin. May mga labor laws talaga that we need to be updated. Like for example, the Department of Labor and Employment released this memorandum actually saying that hindi na dapat minamandatuhan ang mga companies na pilitin ang mga babae na magsuot ng high heels sa trabaho.
Yes. I think I've heard that when that came out.
Right? Oo. Hindi na minamandatuhan. Kasi lumalabas sa mga pag-aaral that mas nagsa-suffer ang mga women who are employed sa kanilang healthcare kesa sa mga male counterparts nila. Kasi sila, they have like long hours of standing in high heels. Parang ganon. So, dapat hindi na daw inaan yun. Kung gusto nung, halimbawa, employee na magsuot ng high heels,
pwede
magsuot siya.
Pero not required.
Pero hindi na dapat lahat. Sa lahat. Yes. Kasi, meron din ako nakausap, ito naman bank manager. Sa isang bangko din. Kilalang bangko din ito. Kilalang bangko din ito.
Daming chismis natin dyan
Oo, kasi ito yung mga
sabagay, that's what you do nga naman to address these issues.
Yes. And ngayon, tanong ko sa kanila is that bakit lahat ng mga bank tellers din ay babae? So, bakit wala akong nakikitang lalaki ng mga bank tellers?
Okay, no?
So, di ba question mark yun? Kasi parang wala bang mga tellers na mga lalaki na capable and competent? Talagang babae lang. And talaga naka-heels sila, naka-makeup, ganyan. So, and then yung mga lalaki ng mga staff nila are usually like managers or security guard or mga ganyan. So, when I asked them, the bank manager actually said, well, the reason kung bakit mga babae yung mga tellers namin, kasi sir, yung mga clients namin, majority are lalaki. Parang, so what do you mean by that? Ginanon ka siya. Are you saying that sinasexualize natin yung posisyon na teller? Parang the reason why they're going back to your bank, it's because to see beautiful women, not because your bank is trustworthy. Ganun.
I think, no? And I think yung mga ibang profession din dumaan sa ganyang phase. Like, I believe nurses back then, no? Siguro mga early 1900s. Tama ba yung basta mga 1910s to 1950s na pag nurse, babae lang. No?
Right.
And then yung mga yung flight attendant occupation, ganyan din. Dumaan din sa ganyang phase na babae lang. Even I remember also back kasi I started out as a teacher. No? I started my career as a high school teacher. And yun nga, bumabalik yung mga sinasabi mo like the heels. Naalala ko yung mga co-teachers ko na babae na what do you call this? After the day, sobrang sakit ng paa nila. Nasa faculty kami, nagbibiroan. And also, nakita ko rin kasi we came from a family of teachers so nakita ko rin yung sinasabi mo na kapag babae ay lalaki ka tas teacher ka, may something sa'yo na why can't you be a man and become a teacher? Sabi ko nga nung bata pa ako. Pero yun nga, no, at least things are already changing. Pero ayun, so sa mga bank tellers parang ngayon ko lang din napagtanto yun
Actually, marami ka mapapansin na ganyan sa mga department stores, for example, ang mga cashiers babae. And then ang mga baggers sa grocery ay lalaki. So very very specific, no? Iilan lamang yung mga nakita ko in my experience nung pag-ikot-ikot ko sa mga iba't ibang mga na pwedeng mag-mix yung pwedeng lalaki yung cashier, babae yung bagger, mga ganun. So napaka very specific ng mga jobs, ng mga work. Pero actually kung titingnan mo talaga in terms of competency, anybody can actually do what they're doing. 'Di ba? Kayang gawin ng lalaki yung maging cashier, kayang gawin ng babae yung maging bagger. It's just that nagiging very stereotypical, no, yung mga work. No, diversity and inclusion actually looks into this and analyze kung bakit may mga ganitong effects, no. And ano yung impact naman if you're going to shake things a little bit, change the policies a little bit, para mas tingnan natin kung mag-work, na kung saan mas ma-engage naman yung mga employees at
Mhm.
ma-feel naman nila na I can actually do this, di ba? So, mga ganun.
Ayun.
So yan, maraming mga policies actually that they can actually look into. And ito yung mga policies that I mentioned na I think na kailangan on top of their minds if they're going to start their diversity and inclusion in their workplace. Ito yung mga kailangan nilang bantayan.
Yes, yes. And siguro singit ko nang din yung workplace setup, no? Like there was an issue back then if I remember correctly na yung CR or restroom inside the company,
Yeah.
'di ba? Like it's always the two options lang. Pero I think ngayon
Yes.
I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong ha, pero nagkaroon na ata ng policy regarding that. Or not yet?
There are some.
There
There
are
are
some.
some na merong mga policies pero hindi pa rin siya pangkabuuan.
Pangkabuuan, okay. So parang internal pa
meron
lang
pa rin.
siya.
Oo. Kumbaga pag may isang company or isang organization na nag-adopt ng mas may gender lens, kumbaga may
Mhm.
mas sensitive sila sa needs ng kanilang mga workforce, then they actually have a gender neutral or an all gender CR. Pero yung iba kasi walang ganun. So talagang male and female talaga, basic
Mm.
lang, yung dalawa lang. Ngayon, nagiging problematic siya for some dahil yung iba nga may ibang gender identity, no. They might be transgender individuals, they may be your staff or they may be your clients and they don't even know where to go, 'di ba? Kung saang CR sila pupunta kasi either way they will be discriminated and stigmatized.
Oo.
Kagaya na lang nung nangyari sa isang client sa isang private resort
Mhm.
in Cebu. So private resort in Cebu, ang ginawa niya is nag-post siya sa Facebook nung experience niya bilang isang trans woman na gusto lang niyang mag-shower. Kasi beach nga, 'di ba? So tapos mo maligo,
Shower
shower
ka.
ka. So 'di ba, basic lang naman 'yun. Pero hindi siya pinayagan dahil daw hindi naman daw siya tunay na babae. So just take note of those things, doon sa kwento niya. And then syempre inireklamo niya sa management 'yon and yung sabi sa kanya ng management policy daw ng company 'yon, etc., etc. So hanggang pumutok yung issue sa media. So, ngayon, pinick up na siya ng national news, ganyan. So, nabash na ng bonggang-bongga yung resort. Pag tinignan mo yung reviews ng resort sa
Bumaba.
kanilang Facebook page, ang baba, ang negative, ang pangit because ang dami talagang mga tao na nagsabi na I don't like this resort, I don't like to go to this resort because they're actually transphobic or homophobic, etc., etc. Kaya may impact talaga yung diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Kung wala ka talagang policy, hindi mo nasa-sensitize yung mga tao, wala kang facilities, then ayan talaga yung ma-encounter natin. So ngayon pang may sinasabi nilang woke culture nga daw, di ba?
Oo.
So mas sensitive na yung mga tao ngayon sa mga needs ng other individuals. So
And,
yan.
and mahirap ma-cancel sa panahon na to.
Mahirap na-cancel, very costly, dahil syempre kailangan mo mag-create ng di ba? Maglabas ng
Magandang
ang tawag
image.
ito, image, publicity, etc. And makikita natin to in terms of for example, mga production companies, yung mga gumagawa ng mga TV series, mga ganyan. And may mga issues, for example, yung mga artists that were involved in their media houses. So, nakadadamay pati yung mga media houses
Oo.
dahil din sa mga ginagawa ng mga actors or yung mga controversies na kinasangkutan ng mga actors na somehow ay nag-play ng role dun sa series na produce nila. So ngayon nalilink tuloy yun ng mga tao na parang ano ba yan, yung mga production companies na to, maka nag-hire ng mga very problematic na mga actors, etc. Hindi man lang chini-check or double check, yung mga ganyan. So makikita mo talaga na there's really something about diversity and inclusion, and it's very timely because nakikita na natin na may impact at may effect dun sa kanilang mga sa company. Minention ko lang ako ano yun. Siguro, gusto ko lang i-share yung ano yung mga kailangan nilang gawin to actually foster innovation and diversity in their workplace. Bago siguro tayo mag-proceed doon sa specific bills like SOGI
Oo.
and other policies. So una siguro, kailangan maging conscious sila kung paano sila nakikipag-communicate. Communicating with their employees, communicating with their co-management, and communicating with their stakeholders. Because there's power to words. And if hindi tayo conscious with the way we speak and the way we communicate, nami-misunderstand yan ng ating mga stakeholders and end users. So, for example, kagaya na lang nung owner ng resort, sabi niya gano'n sa isang TV interview, wala namang dapat mas binibigyan ng importansya ang karapatan ng mga kababaihan kaysa sa mga transgender saka sa mga bakla. Kasi kapag na-rape ang babae, mabubuntis ang mga babae. Pero ang transgender, pag na-rape sila, walang mawawala sa kanila. Ganon yung statement niya, which is very problematic. Diba na
Parang naghukay pa siya ng mas malalim na hukay para sa kanya.
Oo, binaon mo yung sarili mo na parang, what are you talking about? Parang ibig mo sabihin dyan na-justify natin yung rape. So kung lalaki ka, okay lang ma-rape kasi wala namang makakala sa'yo, di ba? So yun ba ibig sabihin nun? So we have to be very conscious with our words, with the way we communicate. So the second one is we need to be informed about our employees, kung sino-sino sila. That's also the third one, is we have to be aware of who they are. Para alam natin na kung ano yung mga needs na kailangan i-communicate. No? And kailangan din nating i-celebrate yung mga wins. For example, dati wala tayong masyadong women engagement. Ngayon, tumaas yung engagement natin. Mas dumami yung mga na-hire natin ng mga women. So, i-celebrate natin yon sa company. Kasi mas nagkakaroon yon ng inclusion. And then next, kailangan maging introspective ka din. Ikaw bilang business leader or business owner, kailangan tignan mo din yung mga biases mo. Diba? Lahat tayo may biases. Kahit ako meron. And these biases are passed on from generation to generation. Hindi natin maiwasan yan. But when we start thinking about these biases that we have, the better we are in becoming more conscious with the way we speak, the way we act. Kasi alam na natin yung effect ng mga biases na yun. May iwasan din natin yung assumptions. Diba? Ito yung lagi ko sinasabi sa mga companies, huwag tayong nag-a-assume kasi pag nag-a-assume tayo, masasaktan tayo.
Parang
Diba?
pwede rin sa love yan. Pero yun
Yes.
nga, huwag tayo mag-a-assume.
Huwag tayong mag-assume kasi pag nag-assume tayo, masasaktan tayo.
Masasaktan
Kaya always check the label, di ba? So, always ask. So, kung hindi ka sure, kung kayo,
There's
tanungin
nothing
mo.
there's nothing wrong in asking naman, di ba?
Oo.
It would actually
So,
save you trouble pa if you
correct.
ask.
Yeah. So, kung meron kang halimbawa transgender employee, hindi mo alam kung paano siya tawagin, better ask.
Ask them.
So, the best way to do is, ask them with respect. So, how are we going to address you? What's your nickname, etc.? And what's your pronouns that you're using? So, yun. Mas na-i-include ngayon sila in the process. Kasi bigla mo na lang silang tatawagin, gagamitin mo sila ng pronouns nang hindi naman yun yung pronoun na gagamitin or yung name na gagamitin nila. So, yan. Okay. Next is to identify the ways people contribute in the organization. Siyempre, iba-iba yung mga grupo ng mga tao involved. Definitely, makikita mo na din kung ano yung mga strengths nila na pwede nilang maibigay in the table. So, once alam mo yung diverse yung workforce mo, mas nakikita mo yung strength ng organization dahil mas marami silang mag-teach din. And then, of course, let them share their expertise, talent, and growth and their experiences. So, magbigay ka rin ng opportunities for them to actually be listened, be heard, in the organization, hindi lang yung ikaw lang yung kuda ng kuda. Kasi ikaw naman yung boss, ikaw yung manager, ikaw yung business leader. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi hindi mag-grow yung company dahil ang mangyayari, hindi na po yun company. Ang tawag po doon ay dictatorship. Kapag
Oo
ikaw
nga
lang yung
naman.
susunod,
Oo nga naman.
authoritarian. Galing ako sa ganong company before when I was really, really young.
I see.
Bago pa lang ako noon, kakatungtong ko pa lang sa Manila noon. I'm from Cebu, kakatungtong ko ng Maynila. Ang ganda ng talent pool namin. Galing kami sa iba't ibang galing po sa iba't ibang areas in the Philippines, which means galing kami ng iba't ibang culture, etc. And then here comes a certain problem that we're facing in the organization, in the company. And then we pitch in our ideas, how we're going to address it. Kasi mga managers kami nun. In the end, walang nangyari. Kasi ang nasunod is kung ano lang yung gusto ng pamilya. Kasi family-owned business yun. So kung yung sinabi ng nanay, kasi siya yung matriarch of the company, o di yun lang nasunod. O di wali lahat yung sinabi namin. O di nagsayang lang kami ng oras.
Ang hirap
So
naman.
yung susunod na mga problems na nag-emerge dun sa company, hindi na kami nagsasalta. So, anong nangyayari? Kami-kami na lang yung nagkikwentuhan kapag during lunch break, mga ganyan. Pero pag nandyan na yung mga boss, we don't engage anymore, we don't share, mga ganyan. Parang kami okay lang kami okay, mga ganyan. Kasi alam namin na kahit na ano pang sabihin namin, hindi naman kami pakikinggan.
It'll be shut down, no?
Oo, masya-shutdown siya.
Ang hirap nga nun.
So, yan. Then another one is to let go of the old parameters. So, syempre, meron tayong mga practices na outdated na. Kumbaga, hindi na siya pasok sa bago. So, dapat habang nag-grow yung business, nag-grow din yung ating workforce and talent pool, dapat nag-grow din yung ating processes. No? And there are some processes na dapat nililet go na natin kasi either these policies or processes are actually very discriminating, stigmatizing. So, iwan na natin yan, yung mga ganyan. For example, ano yung mga policies na yun? The use of pronouns and names in the workforce. There's this one video, Gordon Ramsay. Si Gordon Ramsay, si Kitchen Nightmares. I'm not sure if you know that
I
show.
watch it.
Yes, sa Kitchen Nightmares, wherein he actually dislikes yung paglalagay ng mga name tag.
Yeah. I think I remember that. Oo.
Yeah, pinatanggal niya.
Lahat,
No, pinatanggal niya yung mga name tag, kinuha niya lahat, tapos sinunod niya. Tapos tuwang-tuwa yung mga staff because they felt na parang they don't really need the name tag anymore. Kasi mas nagiging personal yung interaction mo with your customers when they actually talk to you and ask you your name. Kesa tingnan yung pangalan mo, di ba? So, pag tinanong ng customer, so what's your name? So, mas nagkakaroon kayo ng personal interaction. Mas mabilis ka makakapagbenta, mas ma-encourage mo sila kung ano yung magagandang mga products na pwede mo i-lock sa kanila. Kesa yung kitinan lang yung pangalan. So, that's an example of letting go of the old parameters.
Of the labels,
And then, of course, example lang naman yun. So, another one is to create opportunities for employees of different levels of experience to work together. Kasi letting go of these parameters also mean inviting new parameters to come in. So dati kung all boys club lang kayo, puro kayo mga DOM, DOM lang nag-uusap-usap sa organization, puro mga thunders, mga ganyan. This time, baka meron ng mga younger individuals na uupo together with you, listening with you, and then teaching new ideas. And baka kuha kayo ng mga bagong approaches and ways because of that. And of course, ang pinakahuli is to encourage this excitement. Kapag nakakuha ng excitement both from both ends, dun sa mga conservative with the old style and those who are actually innovative, may common ground na kayo. May excitement in both ends excitement yung sa mga bago, sa mga innovative kasi naririnig at nagkakaroon sila ng opportunity to share their thoughts. Para naman doon sa mga mas conservative, na-excite din sila kasi nakikita nila na naging effective yung bagong approach. So, in terms of product sales, engagement, client satisfaction, etc. So, nagkakaroon ng mas synergistic na ideas. So, these are the 9 ways that they can actually foster innovation using diversity and inclusion in their workplace.
Ayun. So, I hope yung mga viewers natin, they were able to catch those and possibly apply them as well in their workplace. Pero now, let's go sa ating industry na L&D. Ayan.
Right.
So, as an L&D naman, what are the ways or can we do something about it ba? Can we promote DNI ba kahit na limited tayo sa training department? What are the things that the L&D can do to promote DNI?
Okay. So, kung babalikan natin yung mga sinabi ko kanina, isa doon sa mga mention ko is you have to understand your workforce. Kung DNI ito, you have to understand your learners. Yan. Parang ito-change lang natin yung language, but the approach is just the same. So, ibig sabihin, kung alam mo yung mga learners mo, alam mo that they're coming from different backgrounds, especially if they're adults. And kapag L&D kasi, adult talaga siya. So, adult learning or andragogy yung ginagamit natin na perspective. So, which means teaching the adults. So, when you teach the adults, they already come in with a rich set of experience na pinanggagalingan nila. And kapag alam mo kung ano yung mga experiences nila, mas madali mo matatap yung kanilang mga interests. Mas madali mo sila ma-engage because they're speaking their language. So, there is this one time, lalo na yung topic na hinahandle ko kasi very, very technical. Gender equality, di ba? Diversity, inclusion, napaka-technical ang mga topics na yan. So, may mga times na hindi talaga sila interested kasi nakarinig na sila ng mga previews, ng mga talks, or webinars, seminars about it. And they feel na parang ano ba yan, lingwahe ng mga ano naman yan, ng mga aktivista. Lingwahe ng mga, laging gano'n yung perspective.
Parang hirap naman ng gano'n.
Oo, parang I cannot relate, parang ganyan. So what I do is I usually ask them where are they from, ano yung mga experiences and backgrounds nila, and tinatahi ko yun with the topic. And in that way, mas na-engage ngayon sila na parang oo nga, actually ganito sa amin sa HR eh. Yung isa naman sabi niya, ganito sa amin sa finance, kasi ganito yung culture namin doon. And then itatahi mo ngayon, yung sasabihin mo na na-apply pa rin natin yung konsepto ng diversity, inclusion, kahit na nasa finance department ka, kahit nasa HR department ka, kahit nasa engineering ka, all of these concepts are there and it's present. So yun yung una. Diba? So, another one is mas madali mong na apart from engagement, mas madali mong na break down yung mga very complex na mga topics. That's something that's relatable and digestible to them. Kasi mas nakaka-relate na sila. This time, mas nag-pitch in na sila ng mga stories. There was this one time I was speaking in Maguindanao. So, Maguindanao, ang topic ko ay, guess what my topic is? LGBTQIA.
Ayun. Okay.
Very controversial.
Medyo controversial nga in that setting.
Diba? Yeah, in that setting, definitely, no? So, I was really, really afraid because I don't know if hindi ako afraid for my own capacity. I know I can deliver it. But ang kinakatakutan ko is baka hindi nila maintindihan in such a way na mapangunahan yung religious beliefs, mga gano'n. So, may mga barriers kasi for trainers. So, what I did was to actually tell a story of myself first.
Okay.
And that's where I take off. Kasi mas madaling makarelate yung mga tao pagka nakikwento ka. Kaya nga mabenta ang maalaala mo kaya eh. Diba? Bakit mabenta yun? Kasi they relate to the story of other storytellers.
They see that it happens as well with other people.
Yes. Nabi-verify nila na, oh my gosh, totoo talaga siya. And actually, na-experience ko yan, may mga ganun. Doon siya nagsimula. And as an elderly practitioner, you actually anchor on that. Hindi nila mananakaw yun eh, kasi story mo yun.
Oo.
And then, gawin mo na i-relate mo ngayon yun para makapag-open up sila. Definitely during that time, hindi naman sila nagsalita openly about their sexuality or whatever. Pero makikita mo sa mukha nila that they agree. They either nod their heads, they smile, etc. But here's the thing. The next day, during breakfast, day 2 na to ng training, may lumapit sa akin. Dala-dala niya yung tray niya na pagkain. Tapos binulungan niya ako. This person is a Nikabi woman. Nikabi yung mata lang yung nakikita.
Oh, I see.
So, balot talaga siya lahat. Ang kwento niya sa akin, binubulungan niya lang ako. Sabi niya, alam mo sir, nakaka-relate ako sa kinuwento mo kahapon. Kasi ako, lesbian ako. Pero syempre, bawal dito sa amin kasi papatayin ako ng mga kamag-anak, ng family members, bawal sa religion, etc. Pero thank you very much for telling your story because I can relate. And I know that I'm not alone. Ganun. Alam mo, ang laking effect nun sa akin. Na parang, ako bilang isang LND practitioner, parang, I'm doing something that's right. And I'm making a change doon sa buhay ng taong yun. Kahit na hindi ko pa siya nakikita, yung mukha niya, mata lang yung nakikita ko sa kanya. So, ito yung mga bagay na ma-relate mo when we actually use diversity and inclusion in the LND practice. So, and of course, ang ikatlo is mag-change natin yung policy. Yan yung ikatlo. Siguro ito yung parang panghuli nating take-off dito sa natin, LND. Sa podcast natin. Is nagiging take-off siya for policy changes. Ngayon, yung lalo na pag nakikinig sa'yo ay mga policy and decision makers, mas na pag-iisip-isip talaga nila na parang, oo nga, no? Baka nagiging discriminating tayo. Baka nagiging limiting tayo sa mga people with disabilities. O baka nagiging blind tayo regarding sa policies natin doon sa mga different age groups. Mga ganyan. And because of that, when you're trying to shape their foundation and their old mindset, so nagkakaroon sila ng avenue to actually think outside of the conventional. Ikaw din, nagkakaroon ka rin ng opportunity to actually influence them to start, new and better policies. So these are the three things that diversity and inclusion can be, included in the learning and development practice.
I see. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing those insights. No, napakarami nating natutunan. Not just of what DNI is all about, but also the benefits, how we can get into it, how can we promote things, and as an L&D, saan tayo pwedeng pumasok dyan to be a part of this, well, not battle, but rather a movement, no, for basically acceptance in all workplaces. And Alvin, actually, we have some questions here from our viewers. I think let's go into them and at least give them some thoughts on their question. So, Mr. Jester here said, what are the companies or siguro mga companies, mga example ng recruiting efforts nila supporting a diverse culture?
Sa recruitment, okay. Yung sa recruitment naman, una dyan, yung sa mga napansin ko lang is the way that they advertise. So instead na very specific yung kanilang, for example, yung kinikwento ko kanina,
yung kanina na females so only, yung ganun.
They're looking for a female executive assistant. So very limiting talaga siya. Very restrictive. This time, meron na silang nakalagay dun sa baba ng advertisement nila na our company is inclusive of everyone and we encourage everyone to apply. We do not discriminate based on age, sexual orientation. May ganun silang...
actually, I've seen some ads na ganun.
Yes. So, ibig sabihin, conscious na sila and nakikita nila na may effect talaga yun. Dun sa mga gustong mag-apply, mas dumadami yung talent pool because they actually say those words. Siyempre, pangalawa is, makikita mo yun sa kanilang mga policies, dun sa mismong recruitment policy nila. There are some companies that they do not look into the age. Pinapa-block nila yon, yung area na yon. Ano pa ba? Gender or your sex, pinapa-block din nilang area na yon. At saka religion. Yan yung tatlo na most likely na hindi nila kinoconsider. Parang naka-blind yon. The reason kung bakit binablind nila yon, kaya kumbaga parang during the recruitment, is for them to look into the person not based on their age, based on their sex or gender, and based on their religion. Kasi yun yung top mga areas na kung saan nadi-discriminate and stigmatize yung mga applicants. Pag nag-a-apply sila, pag nakita na, ay, iglesia, ano kami, protestant kami. Next. Hindi man lang tinignan yung, di ba,
Capabilities niya, di
competency,
ba? Oo.
capability, etc. So, sayang yung talent, di ba? Wala namang kinalaman yung religious practice niya
Doon sa
doon sa
gagawin
trabaho
ninyo.
niya.
Oo.
So, ganun din pagdating sa age, no? Very competent, mataas ang academic attainment, etc. Pagtingin, 25? So young, mga ganyan. No, next, mga ganyan. O kaya so
Oo.
old, mga ganon. Pag tinignan, ay, 60, retiring na, mga ganyan. So, dito pa naman sa Pilipinas, pagka nakita nila na around your 60, parang
55 go,
kailangan mo na
yeah.
talaga mamahinga, mga ganon.
It's a retiring
Talagang
age na sa
pipilitin.
atin.
Oo, retiring age, di ba? Pero like for example, in Japan, that's the reverse, di ba? Pag tumungtong ka ng 60 and above, you can still work
Oh.
kapag capable ka.
If.
At hindi nila tinitignan. Oo, if you're still capable, they're still going to hire you. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, kahit capable ka, may oras ka, meron kang talent, meron kang lahat na
Mahirap na.
experiences. Nakita ng 60, ay wag na, doon tayo sa mas bata. Mga ganun. Sayang yung potential ng na yun ang magagamit pa natin for the organization. So ito yung mga initiatives na ginawa ng ibang mga companies para mas maging inclusive and diverse.
Ayun. Alright. So, Jester, hope you were able to catch that. Next naman, galing kay Jonathan Lim. Ayun. Ano po ba ang most difficult part pagdating sa pag-implement ng D&I?
Ooh, the most difficult part is breaking the conventional thinking. So, yung nakasanayan.
I think as well too, no? Kasi kung yung culture ninyo sa company is a bit let's say traditional, no? How are you? At actually pati sa mga L&D mahirap din 'yan. Like if management said na, all right, we need to implement D&I, we have to break this culture. Pero yung workforce ninyo is medyo on the traditional side. You as an L&D, kasi ikaw ang magre-report, ikaw ang mag-aano yan di ba? Sa'yo mapafall under yung pag-train sa kanila or at least seminars or workshops. So I think, isa nga yun sa
pero meron ding mga traditional na mga L&D practitioners.
Ayun lang.
Na talagang very very structured, na talagang ito dapat yung ito dapat yung gagawin mo, ito yung icebreakers, mga ganyan. I encountered this many times. Na kung saan ito naman nila, training team naman to nila on their end. That's not up my team. It's their team within the organization. Talagang kailangan yung icebreaker nila ay Zumba, sayaw-sayaw, ganyan, na parang really? Para sa akin kasi.
There are other ways naman di ba?
Nakaka-relate siguro kayo doon, di ba? Parang kailangan talaga sayaw-sayaw. Tapos paulit-ulit, parang oh my gosh, ito na naman. For me kasi, parang ang icebreaker, supposedly, you can use that as a learning experience pa rin na connected to the topic. Icebreaker siya in that context, activity siya wherein they can enjoy, but at the same time, nare-reinforce yung learning nung previous topic mo, o kaya jump off mo yon to the next topic na meron ka. Pwedeng ganun. Pero ayaw nila ng ganun. Gusto talaga nila sayaw-sayaw lang. Ganun.
And actually, it's similar as well nung nagtuturo ako. Whenever you do icebreaker, it's supposed to be a scaffolding of the lesson itself, no? Kasi kapag gumawa ka ng icebreaker, well, depende naman din sa purpose kasi may mga icebreaker that are aimed to getting the audiences or the candidates to know each other. Pero may mga may mga icebreakers that are considered as scaffolding to ease the candidates into the topic itself. Parang minor activity siya or things that they can do. Parang patikim, ika nga, or help them get to the main topic as well. Pero yun, I think I've seen that.
Sayaw-sayaw? Hindi ko gets yun.
Parang mahirap, no?
Naintindihan ko para hindi daw sila maantok o ganyan. But there are other ways to do it na hindi sila matutulog or maantok. I think the reason behind kung bakit ganun yung ibang mga L&D practitioners, kasi yun yung nakasanayan na nila na parang, wag na nating baguhin yan. Parang alam mo yun, kailangan pa namin mag-isip ng bagong style, bagong strategy. Nakakapagod, mga ganun. And we've been doing this for years and years already. And for us, it's okay, diba? Yun nga, tayo mga L&D professionals and practitioners, kapag we settled with the okay, we are not growing anymore. And it's time for us to actually quit our work. Kasi dapat L&D professionals and practitioners always innovate, and making,
Tama.
finding new ways to actually learn. Diba?
Ayun. So, Jonathan, I hope you catch that na isa sa mga mahirap gawin when it comes to implementing DNI is breaking the norm. Well, it is fairly
Correct.
new. It's not yet a common thing. Pero yun nga, breaking the norm of if traditional pa rin yung workplace ninyo. Alright, and I guess last question natin from our audience, from Mark Ambray. How do we get the entire company, including the leadership team, support culture of diversity and inclusion in the workplace?
Oh. Actually, it's not an overnight
Thing.
ano,
Oo, oo nga,
parang
no?
thing na parang once magkaroon ka lang ng webinar on diversity and inclusion,
Yun na yun.
okay na. It's actually like it's an uphill battle talaga. Sabi ko nga, 'di ba, you're breaking this long-term culture and conventional practices and ways, mindsets, perspectives. Ang hirap nun tanggalin. Unti-unti. Pero siguro ang pinakamaganda is magsimula ka muna with yourself. Dapat ikaw mismo, benta sa'yo yung diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, you believe in it.
Intindihan mo siya. Oo, di ba? Mahirap kasi mag-preach ng something that you don't really believe in. So, mahirap magbenta ng isang produkto na ikaw mismo hindi gumagamit. Parang, pwede mo itong product na to, nakakapayat talaga to, mga gano'n. Tapos ikaw, hindi mo na siya nagagamit.
Same thing, di ba? Same thing with this.
Walang kwenta. Oo. Kaya, nag-trending yung isang video ng isang football star
Ayan.
na kung saan ay tinanggal niya yung soda at pinalitan niya ng tubig. Di ba?
And
Kasi
share ko lang din with
Oo.
that, no? I believe 4 billion na ang nawala from that company just because of that. Bumaba daw yung stocks.
Actually, oo.
If I'm not
Laking impact
mistaken.
nun, di ba? Kasi yun eh. Kasi yun yung belief niya.
Mhm.
And, if you're part of the team organizing that event, isa sa mga iisipin mo is, ano yung pinaniniwalaan nung mismong taong i-interviewin. Ngayon, hindi ka maglalagay ng produkto doon, tumataliwas doon sa kanyang paniniwala. Kasi definitely, magiging either uncomfortable siya, o kaya kagaya na lang nung ginawa nung football star na yun, na talagang deliberate niya talagang tinanggal. So imagine mo yung effect noon, no? Imagine mo global yun nanonood during that time. And yung effect noon na parang kung ano ibig sabihin noon, no, 'di ba? Paano kung pinopromote pa sponsor pala yung company na yun? So there could have been ways to actually naiwasan yung ganung klaseng effect. Diba? So yun yung sinasabi natin na dapat ikaw mismo benta sa'yo yung diversity and inclusion. And then unti-unti within the team hanggang sa pati yung management, hanggang sa mabago nyo na yung culture, pati yung policies, processes, and magkaroon na kayo ng bagong organizational culture that's actually more diverse and more inclusive.
Ayan. So yan, Mark, no? It's not something na agad-agad ma-achieve. Well, as an L&D, alam na rin naman natin that nothing can be done in a snap, no? A lot of things
Part
cannot
ng development
be done.
yun.
Oo, kaya nga meron tayong development sa industry natin.
Correct.
So, yes, pero it's a good starting point to, start on yourself. Believe it first. And magre-resonate naman yan Magre-resonate naman yan with all of the things that we will do for the company and with the company. And along the way, we will see the development and acceptance for DNI. Ayun. Alright, so I guess that's all for today. Thank you so much, Sir Alvin, for joining us, and nag-enjoy ako sa topic natin today. Ang dami ko natutunan. Well, I admit, I am not that of an expert yet with this topic. Pero yon, maraming salamat. I've learned a lot of things, and hopefully, no, we can still promote things like this kahit na hindi Pride Month. No? Let's not
Correct.
just stop
actually,
at
dapat,
June.
hindi lang siya mga Pride Month
Oo,
talaga.
it's not just
Dapat
during
all
June.
year round.
True.
And if you're interested to actually have more diversity and inclusion in your workplaces, you contact Kevin. Para Kevin will contact me.
But yeah, sure, go ahead. You can share naman kung paano ka nila mako-contact or how can they connect with you and things that you would like to promote then.
Yeah, they can actually like search my name in social media. Like I'm everywhere naman. I'm in Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm in
Ayun.
Facebook. I'm also in TikTok if they want.
Oh, yun.
Pero hindi
TikTok.
hindi ako sumasayaw.
Akala ko yung
Nagpo-post
sumat.
lang ako ng mga concerns about DNI, no, gender equality, etc. Kaso nakakapagod pala mag-TikTok, no?
Oo. Natry ko din yan.
kailangan mo kailangan mo mag-produce ng maraming content na parang oh my gosh, nakakapagod siya. But anyway, you can also visit my website, that's adgenderph.com. So you can actually contact me there. Yan, kapag if you're interested to actually like introduce diversity and inclusion in your work.
They can reach out to you for a consultancy, something like that.
Yes, consultancy, training, pwede ding kahit chika-chika lang, mga tanong-tanong, mga ganyan. Diyan na nagsisimula ang lahat, mga ganun. Pero huwag po kayo masyadong maraming tanong kasi pag masyadong maraming tanong, mga more than 10, may cost na po
May
yun.
cost na. Doon na pumapasok yung bayad. Yung consultancy
May
fee.
bayad na po yun. Yes.
So, AD Gender PH, tama?
Yes.
Ayun. Any project na upcoming? Baka meron kayong gustong i-share na projects on your end?
Well, meron akong, tapos na yung mga talks ko actually sa, nagkaroon ako ng mga talk about diversity and inclusion sa ibang bansa. And then meron din akong mga talks upcoming pa. Pero punta na lang kayo sa website or sa social media para makita nyo kung ano yun. And maybe you can like join. Or perhaps you can create your own in your own company. Especially now na nagsisimula ng mag-take off talaga yung diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So, yan. Kung gusto nyo na mas pag-usapan talaga siya at mas maging specific siya to the needs of your company. So, yeah.
Ayun. Alright. Thank you so much, Sir Alvin. Ayan po. To all our viewers today, thank you so much for tuning in and I hope you learned as much as I did na nag-enjoy with this topic. And sana po next week balikan nyo rin kami dito. Weekly naman yung ating show. Sir Alvin, again, personally, I want to personally thank you for joining us and sharing your knowledge and insight with this topic. Ayan, maraming salamat po and happy Pride Month ulit. Ayan. Alright, well, that's it for our show today. Thank you so much again sa mga nanood. Please don't forget to like and share and also follow us on our Facebook pages. Again, this is Kevin and join us next week in the show where we sit back, relax, and talk about anything and everything L&D. This is Trainers Lounge. Good night.
We're done. Okay na tayo, Kevin.
For my 20 years of experience in human resources, CLDP is the best program that offers comprehensive yet understandable practices in learning and development. If you want to enhance more of your competencies, it is only CLDP.